recording. So Matt, thank you for joining us. For people that don't know, this is Matt Smoyer. He is the service manager at Berkeley Honda right now, and he's also our advisory council president now too. So thank you very much for all you do for our students. You are one of the best out there. I really appreciate all you do for us.
No problem.
Are you making it all right during this pandemic?
Yeah, we're doing okay. Bringing people back slowly.
I was talking with a lady who owns a small shop in Wisconsin about how usually this time of year for automotive, it starts picking up again because people are getting their tax returns. So you start seeing, after Christmas, you hit that lull and tax return, it starts creeping up and people start fixing their cars again. But now with this pandemic, when it's hitting during tax time, that's going to hurt.
Yeah, this is usually the busiest time we have. We were picking up in the beginning of March, and it just, as soon as the stay-at-home order got sent out, it just died. We're usually doing about 220 cars a day at this time, and right now we're doing about 75.
You say 220?
Yeah. Yep.
Holy cow. How many techs do you have at Honda?
Usually we have 34 on staff.
Do you run like 2 shifts then?
We used to. We actually condensed it down once the newer shop got built. We condensed it down to 1 shift. We're open from 7 in the morning until 7 at night.
Wow, that's a lot of cars moving through your shop.
Oh yeah.
So most people haven't heard about your background in that. Let's go back and let's start with like your background. You've talked to me about how you grew up in a mechanically inclined family. You grew up enjoying this type of stuff. You want to tell the students about like where you started?
Yeah, for sure. I started, my grandfather owned a body shop in northern Minnesota. My father was a diesel mechanic. My other grandfather was maintenance at Eveleth Mines. So I grew up working on cars, doing everything from restoring old cars to fixing the cars that we were driving on a daily basis. From there, hunting, fishing, from being from northern Minnesota made it where you were always working with your hands. It's a little bit different world than down here. From there, as soon as I was in high school, I wanted as a career, I was in sports, football, hockey, baseball, snowmobile again. But as soon as it came time to get a job, I had, my parents were friends with our service director here at Berkeley. And I got an opportunity to run cars when I was in high school for a part-time job. And really started that. Our service director at the time knew that I was mechanically inclined. I had done all, and my car was actually a 78 Firebird. And I had restored it. I had put a quarter panel and a rocker panel on it and rebuilt the motor with my dad. And that was the car I was driving to work on a daily basis. So Ken knew I knew how to work on cars. So I ran cars for 6 to 9 months and then started working in the shop as a lube technician, doing oil changes, tires, really light maintenance. And once I graduated high school, is when I became a light duty technician, and I was looking at different career paths. I wasn't sure if I was going to be a technician for my career or something else. I actually had gone to St. Paul College for engineering, for machining, and I finished their 2-year program. And for somebody, it was about 2009, so it was the middle of pretty much the housing market crash. Machining industry was down a lot at that point in time, and I had my shoe in still back at Berkeley as a light duty mechanic. So I actually went back to Berkeley while I was looking for a machining job, and continued working in the shop for another year and a half. And then an opportunity came up down in the service drive to start writing service and working with customers. And I took that opportunity and turned it into a pretty successful career where I was 20, 21 years old and was making pretty good, was ready and another opportunity came up to be a full-on service advisor. And I was a service advisor for 4.5 years. And then a night managing position available, and they felt I was the right position or right fit for that position. Moved into management, and then did that for 2 or 3 years. And then our day manager actually got promoted and moved to service director for our Hyundai store. And then I got promoted to the main service manager here for the Honda store.
That's awesome. You started at the bottom and worked towards the top.
Yeah.
You listed off a couple of words that some of our students might not know. Can we go over what means to run cars, light duty tech, and service rider, like what the responsibility of each ones are?
Yep. So our service runners it's probably one of the most important positions in any dealership. As you know, Derek, from working at the shops you're working at, the runners take cars that drive in from customers and bring them throughout the dealership wherever they need to go. They either bring them into the shop for the technician to work on them. They bring them out to different rows out set up, place keys and stuff like that where the technicians can find them. They do some light detailing, washing the cars. It's one of our entry level positions to where we can put people to see what kind of workers they are. And that worker, we see all the different opportunities that the dealership has, because throughout our dealership, there's probably about 25 different career paths that you can go on, through service, sales, the office, our body shop, our parts department, maintenance, things like that. It's really its own community. Each dealership is, just because there's so many different opportunities there, and it gives somebody that's new to the career or trying to figure out what they want to do with their life, an opportunity to see quite a few different opportunities that come up. I mean, I know that's what brought me to where I'm at 18 years later. So,
and then that is car running is a job you hire high schoolers for, because you actually currently have 2 from White Bear working for you right now.
Correct. The vast majority of my car runners are going to be high school age students, at least for our part-time evening runners. I like to hire those people. I especially like to hire high schoolers that are interested in an automotive career, because it gets their foot in the door. I have relationships built with schools, colleges around town, and things like that. So if they do feel that they're interested in an automotive career, I have a lot of different areas I can go in. I can have them tour Century College, St. Paul College, or Dunwoody College, and get a connection with their teachers and things like that if they have any questions, or are looking at going to one of those schools. We have those relationships built. So it's nice to be able to get somebody that's new and young in their career that's interested in it. It gives them a lot of different options.
And then the next one you talked about was light duty tech. What's the responsibilities of light duty techs?
So I've talked, we did in our advisory meetings about maintenance and light repair. But that is what a light duty technician is. So from a lube technician who does like the oil changes, tire rotations, maybe some really light fluid services and things like that, a light duty technician is the step between a lube technician and a journeyman level technician, where they start doing light repair work, like brake services. They can do radiators, some light suspension work, exhaust work. It gives them an opportunity to do more than what a lube technician is, but not any of the diagnosis work or heavy repair work, like heavy engine or transmission work.
Light duty is a lot of wear items.
Correct.
It's instead of where you have to actually diagnose and have diagnostic equipment and the knowledge of all the systems. A lot of it is your brake pads are worn. We need to replace them. So that's how, when I've looked at light duty, I see a lot of that as your wear items. And then,
sorry, I just had to shut my door there.
Oh, no problem. It's a live shop. Things happen. And then the last one you talked about was a service rider. What type of things and skills do service riders have?
So my strongest service writers come from automotive backgrounds. Having the mechanical knowledge, but also the customer service skills. So all of our service writers, whether we actually have two different levels of service writers, express service writers that work with our lube technicians and our light duty technicians, as well as our main shop service advisors who work with journeyman technicians and light duty technicians. So really the service writer's main goal or main job is to take care of the customer as they're driving through the door, to review what we're doing today for what their concerns are. So it's, if a customer brings a car in for a noise they're hearing when they're driving it, they take that information, they put it on the work order for the technician to be able to understand what the customer's goal is, as well as the customer to know that we're addressing what their concern is. That service advisor also reviews the customer's maintenance and history to make sure that the car, if it's due for any maintenance type items, we review that and talk with the customer about it. Beyond it, when the technician's working on the car, there's always a multi-point inspection performed. The advisor reviews the results of that multi-point inspection with the customer. The service advisor builds estimates for parts and labor for every concern the customer has once it's diagnosed, for every note on the inspection report if the technician sees something, as well as any time and mileage maintenance items. They build cost estimates for the customer so they can make a good decision based on costs and what they can afford to what the car needs.
I've met some of the best service writers I work for. Their strong suit was customer service and relationships. I had some service writers that I worked for that the customer knew the customer so well and the customer knew them so well. They didn't have to call with estimates. It's just they knew the customer would say okay. The customer trusted the service writer, and it made this process so much easier. So their ability to be personable with customers and be trustworthy with customers and prove themselves to the customers and build that relationship helps everybody at the dealership. I found that was one of the strongest traits you could have as a service writer.
Correct. It's I still have customers to this day that walk into my office and just drop their keys off and say, take care of it and call me when it's done. So it's nice to know that those relationships are still there, and that when I was younger in my career, I was able to build a lot of those kind of relationships.
Yeah, it's impressive. I've had an opportunity to talk with a lot of different people and through the automotive industry. And one of the teachers I had, he actually owned a shop right next to the train station in Chicago. So his customers paid him a monthly fee to park at his shop so they could ride the train, but they had to leave a credit card on file and a key on file, because when it was there, he's like, hey, you need an oil change? I'll get it done while you're at work. And he had this setup, but it's because the customers trusted him, he could build a successful business.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about you hire high schoolers to run cars. What type of qualities are you looking for in a potential employee, either at the car running level or the light duty level, or even, somebody that's a little more experienced at the journeyman level?
Baseline qualities are being punctual. If we have an interview set up at 4:00, my expectation is that you're ready for the interview before 4:00. On time is late is what I've come to realize in this industry. And I've realized that as a service writer working with customers, because if I tell you your car is going to be done at 4:00 and I have it done at 4:00, in your mind or in the customer's mind, I'm not on time, I'm late. It should have been done 10 minutes earlier. So being punctual is a big part of it. For a lot of our entry-level positions, I'm trying to think of the way to describe it, but when you're talking with somebody, there's a certain level of confidence you feel that person has when you're talking about what they want to do and having an idea. I don't expect high schoolers to know what their career is going to be. I know I had no idea when I was in high school, but short-term goals, to be goal-oriented, to have drive, to do the best that you can do in any position you're in. And that's something that I've learned over my career is even if it's moving, the car from point A to point B and bringing the keys inside the shop to point C, I'm going to do that correctly, and I'm going to do it safe. I'm not going to speed in the parking lot when I've been given that direction. Being able to take direction is a huge thing. Understanding that constructive criticism is one of the key ways to success. Understanding that you don't have the experience. There's a lot of situations in which I've never been in that situation before, and I look to other people that have to see what they've done and how they've been successful, and taking that information and applying it. So really an open mind, being punctual, and willingness to work. Trying your hardest when you're here. And that goes, those core things for a part-time position with a high schooler, or I'm talking to a 20-year veteran journeyman technician who's done it all and seen it all. I still want to know that person can show up on time and be on time and be punctual. Attitude's a huge thing across the board for all positions. If you have a bad attitude, you're not somebody that the other technicians or other employees want to work with. It's more difficult.
It can be contagious through the whole shop too.
Oh, exactly.
It's one bad apple ruins the pie.
Yep. I mean, and everybody's experienced it. Everybody's been at the store where the one employee had a bad attitude or wasn't happy. Everybody's had that friend who you call and they're just crabby on the phone. Everybody understands that happens in life, but it's all about how you take care of that situation and how you react to it and work with it and can come out on the other side of it. I think as a teacher, Derek, I'm sure you've experienced it where you've had a bad morning or a bad situation, but you got to put that smile on and keep on going for the rest of the day. And that's really what we look for is I want to know that somebody that I'm going to bring in and be part of the team is going to be an addition to the team and not hinder it. We're very team oriented here. When I look at it, I don't care if you can make the company the most amount of money. If you're a sour apple, it's only going to hurt everyone else. And I've actually turned down hiring people because of that. Where you look at service writers or technicians that can come in and show that they can put up 200% production or they have the highest sales. But if they're not good to work with as a team, they're people that we don't bring on.
I have like 2 points I want to reiterate that you said about, no matter what you do it right and you do it safe. My grandpa always told me, even if all you do in life is push a broom, be it the best broom pusher you can be. Whatever you do, give it all you can and do it the best you can. And then the other thing you said many, many times through this is team. In automotive, you're not going to know everything coming out of, high school or a tech school. I mean, there's a big difference between book knowledge for cars and real life knowledge. I found that out pretty quick because once you start diagnosing stuff and it doesn't line up with the book, you kind of scratch your head. But I like how you highlighted team over and over again, being that team player because, one day you might need help and then the next day the person that helped you might need help. And if you each help each other, you all succeed at a higher level.
For sure.
So right now, we have many high schoolers that, want to either go into automotive or a trade. You said about a few qualities that you look for in an employee. What other advice would you have for them, if they want to go into a trade or automotive? What can they do to be successful?
I come from a trade family. I would say the best advice I can, and I wish somebody would have told me this when I was younger, the expectation isn't that you know everything right now. The expectation is that you're willing to learn and that you don't know anything or know everything right now. I would say things across the board that are going to work in the automotive industry or any industry, whether it's trade, whether it's, even going on to 4-year college. It's today's the day that you're going to do everything you can to be successful for tomorrow. I've walked into so many different situations in my life where I had no idea what I was going to do or how I was going to get out of the situation, whether it was working on a car and I broke a bolt off in an engine block and it looked like I'd have to pull the block or pull the engine on the car to be able to get that out. Or just walking into a situation with a customer where somebody made a mistake and we needed to see what we can do it right. Clear communication, expectations, and really putting 100% effort with an open mind. I work with people a lot on a daily basis that no matter the situation, they can't see it from somebody else's point of view. And they really see their point of view. And that makes it very difficult because life experience changes point of views. And what you think is how the world might change from some information you get later on today and change for tomorrow. Just always have an open mind and try to understand things from as many different points of view and directions as you can.
You talked about, you won't know anything. I try to teach my students that it's okay not to know anything. And it's, if I get asked a question, I don't know it, just be honest. I've told many customers that ask me questions about something, it's like, I've never been asked that question or thought of that question before, but, give me a little bit, I'll find you an answer. So it's always being willing to, acknowledge that you don't know the right answer and find it. I find, can really lead along you to success too.
Oh yeah. With my advice on a basis, you get asked hundreds of thousands of questions, from torque specs on something to if this is available or you can do that. We have kind of a rule here at Berkley that we don't say no.
Oh, I lost you.
I don't have the knowledge of everything that I've ever been asked on every car that we have or that we've worked on, but I do have the tools in my pocket to be able to find out the information that I am being asked. And don't hesitate to try to find out yourself. I know that's something that a lot of our older, more experienced technicians notice with a lot of the younger technicians is that instead of trying to figure it out for yourself first, their first thought is, well, I'm just going to ask him because he knows. You gain a lot of respect in the industry when you put the effort forth to try to find the answer for yourself. And if you can't find it, then you ask. I know that's something that a lot of our older 35 plus years in really greatly appreciate, because it shows initiative on the younger employees' part that they are trying to find this answer. They can't, now I can help them. And don't guess. Guessing is the worst thing, because once you're wrong, it can tarnish a relationship with a customer. It can tarnish a relationship with an employee. Thinking that the lug nut should be torqued to 120 foot-pounds when it should be 80, and then the next guy that goes to pull the wheel off makes everybody look really bad. And then, unfortunately, because you asked somebody when you were torquing the lug nut originally, it's on you because you did it wrong.
That is one of the worst situations in the shop, is when the previous tech did something. It can be simple as when they pulled the tires off, they didn't look closely enough at the brake pads, they marked them green. You get it 1,000 miles later and they're almost metal on metal, and it's like, well, maybe they didn't fully look at it, but you need brakes, and now you have to explain to the customer how did they go from green to red brakes in 1,000 miles. So keeping that trust and credibility with customers and your fellow techs is really important.
For sure. Your word is everything, whether you're working or whether I'm talking to an employee or a customer. If I say something's going to happen, I'm making that something happen. If I'm not sure, I'm very clear in letting them know. I don't promise things. I used to promise things I wasn't sure I could deliver on, but I can tell you that once you're unable to deliver a couple times, you start realizing that you'd rather be very transparent with the customer, the employee, and let them know. It's a harder conversation when you say you can do something, and you give them assurance that you can, and then find out you can't. You'd rather be transparent up front and let them know that, you know what, I'm going to look into it and I'm going to see what I can do for you, instead of saying that, yes, I can do that, and then an hour or two later coming back saying, well, actually, I can't do that, and here's why. So transparency is huge as well.
It's all about relationships in the automotive industry. Because without the customers, nobody in the automotive industry has a job. So you have to keep those customers coming back and keeping them happy.
Well, and perception's huge too. I'm sure everybody's heard somebody in their life talk about how bad a dealership can rip people off, or that place ripped somebody off, or this happened, that happened. Berkley's built a huge reputation from the owners down that we really truly do the right thing. We look at each situation, whether we made a mistake or not, and make sure we evaluate it to make sure we are doing the right thing, and try to go above and beyond. I mean, your word is everything in the industry, to your customers, and it's really easy to tear down a reputation. It's a lot harder to try to build it back up.
I've told many instances to my students about, quote unquote bad techs that, either screw over the customer, cheat the system, say they did repairs that they don't actually do, about how that's one of the quickest ways to get let go from a shop. Because you talked about reputation. A tech that, screws over a customer or does repairs that they don't, or says they do repairs that they don't actually do, is one of the quickest ways that a shop would let you go.
Yeah, that's one of the fastest ways that it's one of the only ways to let go without even an explanation. If I know you lied, cheated, or stole, that ruins our relationship.
And between that, and I also tell the students, if you let cars go down the road without torquing lug nuts and tires fall off, that's another quick way to be let go.
Yes, that is. As I'll just say, I just got to look something up here real quick.
Nope, no problem.
Glad Mike Pierce not the only one doing that.
Super fast.
Yeah. They just sent the parts diagram. I don't know exactly what we need for it.
9. And then a steering.
So as Matt is busy doing his daily job, because he's actually currently at work, so we really thank him for his time. If anybody, there's a few students in the chat right now, this would be a great time to think about if you have any questions so far for Matt, whether it's automotive industry, working out in the trades, what it takes to be a good worker, any advice he has. If you have any questions right now, go ahead and type them in the chat and I'll read them off to Matt. So I'll give a couple moments if you have any questions. Otherwise, you all just keep hearing my voice.
Let me know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep going on with what I have for different questions. You and I both know that automotive field can be a rewarding career, but what makes it a rewarding career for our students that would be think about going into it?
I mean, the biggest rewarding thing for me every day is when I was a technician, being able to actually fix things. It's kind of funny, but something comes in broken, you get a lot of self-pride from actually repairing it. It drove in broken, or it wasn't right, and it left and it was right. So, I mean, financially, it's one of the few careers where it's in your own hands. I mean, really, you can make as much money as you want to make in this career. So the financial part of it is, in my opinion, totally up to you. And it's one of the only careers like that as a technician or a service advisor. But really, there's a lot of pride. And that's what I felt the most is being able to actually change something and see the difference from when a car drove in to when a car left. I mean, that was the biggest thing for me. the other part of it, since I started writing service and actually being a lot more customer oriented, is when you take a bad situation and turn it around. You know, whether it was a mistake that one of my employees made, one of my technicians did, or one of my service advisors did, or correcting bad information and making it right, or a customer that had a bad experience prior and totally turning that around. I mean, there's just overall, I get a feeling of a lot of accomplishment from that. And that's what really drives me to work every day, is knowing that I can change people's lives for the better. I can fix a broken car. I can fix a broken relationship with a customer. If you really break it all the way down, I enjoy being a fixer person. I like fixing things. So that's what gives me a lot of pride in my job and what I do on a daily basis, and being able to help others. I mean, just at work and then outside of work, I don't have a problem investing my time from what I've learned over the years, or what I do on a daily basis to help others and show others that it is really rewarding. Both my wife and I both really appreciate that and try to do what we can.
I also like the mental part of it. You know, it was a puzzle to me. Anytime I had a car with some weird problem, it was a puzzle. I wanted to solve the puzzle. So I got a lot of the weird check engine lights, electrical problems, battles. I enjoyed the puzzle. What is the solution to the puzzle? How do we solve it? So that was one of the parts I liked, because it stimulated my brain a lot. I didn't just go to school, you know, work and sit at a computer typing stuff. I got to think, and, you know, sometimes had to think outside of the box to solve the problem.
Well, and it's different every day. I think I'm close to 17 or 18 years here. I've never had the same day twice. You know, it's a different conversation every night at the dinner table. I can never expect what I'm going to see. So that's another big part for me. I get bored easily. So doing different things on a daily basis really is probably one of the only careers that I would be as successful as I am because of that.
The other nice thing about automotive, you know, either if you work at a dealership kind of like Honda, you can go anywhere in the world and work. You can go anywhere in this country and work. So if for some reason your family had to move, you can be employable everywhere. It's a great rewarding career because you take your skills with you, and there's jobs across the country that you could work. I've been lucky.
There's a lot of job security out there. Every car you see on the road needs to get worked on by someone.
And even if it doesn't break, it has to have oil changes. It has to have new tires eventually. It has to have brakes. It has to be fixed at some point.
Correct. It's mechanical, and everything mechanical breaks at some point.
The other thing you talked about is, you know, it's up to you for your paycheck. My students, we talk a lot about what flat rate means, how that works. So they kind of have an understanding of, you know, when we start looking at all data, because we've been using that now some, that what's that number mean when it says labor? You know, if it says 1.1, what does that mean? It means, you know, I get paid 1 hour and 6 minutes to do that job, no matter how long it takes. So that's another rewarding thing for automotive, like you talked about. As hard as you want to work, you can earn more money. Your hard work is a direct correlation to how much money you make. Not all jobs have that, because you might work at a job where you work really hard, but it's up to upper management to give you a raise. In automotive, it's up to yourself to give yourself a raise, because the harder you work, the more hours you can turn, the more money you can make.
Yep. One of the big things that I did kind of when I took over is I talked to every one of our technicians in the shop and every one of my service advisors. And I one material thing.
Will you say that again, Matt? You cut out at the beginning of that.
Went through when I took over, and I talked with every one of my employees, every one of my technicians, every one of my service advisors, and I talked to them about wanting one thing, whether it was they wanted a new car, they wanted a fishing boat, they wanted a camper, they wanted to buy a house, they wanted a different apartment. Just talk to them about one thing. that they wanted to make a change. And we set a goal. I set a goal with each one of my employees saying that we're going to get you there. And we work through, and I mean, some people I talk to on a daily basis, some people I talk to on a weekly basis, some people monthly basis, and other people I never had to talk to. I have a couple technicians in the shop that put up pictures. One of them wanted a boat and one of them wanted a motorcycle. And I said, we will get you that by turning more time this year. So you're going to make additional money and you'll be able to buy that. And some people had some really big extravagant things that they wanted. I had a technician that wanted a Corvette. He'll be there in, I think, 3 years. But just looking at what we can do on a daily basis to reach the goal that they set. And that's something that has worked out really well for us. And then once you achieve that goal, what we can do different to achieve the next goal. Do we need to change something? Is there something that you can do? Is there something I can do? Or are you really at the top? Because myself in my career, I don't feel like I'm at the top. I'm not the best I could possibly be or the best that there is. I'm not the number one. I'm not Kobe Bryant. I'm not at the top of my game. I can do something better. I can make one of my employees more money, or I can make the dealership more, or I can have better customer satisfaction. So until I get there, I'm going to have a picture of my camper underneath my desktop. So
I think if you would,
I work for.
I would think if you ask people at the top, like you're at the top of your dealership right now as a service manager, if you ask Kobe Bryant, if you ask Michael Jordan, I think none of them would say that they're at the top of the game and that they can improve. What makes people at the top is because they don't settle for where they're at. Each day they try to go higher and higher and higher. And that's why guys like that, or Ken Griffey Jr. or Cal Ripken, there's lots of names you can rattle off that you would see them at the top of their industry or career, but they wouldn't see that because they want to always make sure they're better.
I can tell you in my career, I've never met the best service manager, best service advisor, best service director. I haven't met them yet. We're all trying to do better on a daily basis, and I don't think anybody's ever figured it out. And that's another thing that makes it interesting for me is I know I can always do better. There's more money to be made. There's more people to make happy. There's more careers to make for my employees. We're always trying to do more.
The last question, because I want to be, actually I have two questions, because I want to be respectful of your time. We talked about, success through this whole interview. How would you define success? What is success to you?
That's a tough question. I I don't think about it very much. I convert success to happiness for me, for myself and my wife. I've always wanted big things. It's something that my parents used to laugh at me about because we would talk. I like I said about my first car, I had a 78 Firebird. I saw Smokey and the Bandit, which probably you guys don't know what movie that is, but look it up. I saw that car in Smokey and the Bandit when I was about 12 years old, and I said that that's going to be my car. And I mowed grass in our neighborhood until I got enough money, and I found one. And it needed a lot of work, but I had enough money to buy it. And my family had the skills and knowledge to help me build it to where I could drive it. I still have that car to this day.
That is awesome.
So throughout my life, I always looked at success was a byproduct of me being driven. I always wanted more. I'm never happy with what I currently have. It drives my wife absolutely nuts sometimes. But if I come up with some sort of new product, or I wanted a new bow for bow hunting, and I went out and figured out how much money it was, because I don't just buy things. I look at what I have to do different to be able to achieve that. and I changed some things around and tried some different things, and it took me a couple months, but I got a new bow last year, and worked towards it. And that's how I look at things. If I want something, I don't, whether I can or not, I don't just go out and do it. I look at what I have to change with what I'm currently doing to be able to achieve that. And that seems to work for me. And every time I achieve something, I feel a little bit more successful, but I don't, if I were to sit in front of your class and say I'm a successful person, I don't see that would be me. I'm not there yet. So maybe someday I'll be there.
We're all work in progress. We're all chasing that, our ideal image of ourselves.
Yep.
I'm just always really impressed that you started as a car runner and worked your way all the way to a service manager. It's quite impressive. The last question I got for you is, if you could go back and give your younger self 3 pieces of information or advice, what would you tell your younger self that you know now?
Drop my attitude and take criticism. When I was younger, I was pretty cocky. I thought I knew everything. Whether it was my dad telling me that I'm gonna break something the way I'm working on it, or another technician at work saying if you do it a different way, it's faster. Repair through warranty like that because it won't get covered. To listen to what other people have to say, and I don't mean listen to them and do exactly what they're saying. I mean just listen and evaluate it for myself and to see if that makes sense to me. Ask more questions, and ask for help. That would have saved me a lot. And know that tomorrow is always going to be better than today. There's been a few times where you get in a slump, a bad car, a comeback. You can't fix a car, and you'd spend more time, I'd spend an hour or 2 sulking about why I can't fix this car, instead of reevaluating what I had done so far, the results I got from the tests that I had done, and what the potential causes of that problem are. I would have saved myself a lot of time.
Those are awesome advice, that our students can learn from. It's all a learning experience, and about making yourself better each day is one of the things I try to teach my students. Today you're here, let's tomorrow be a little better, and tomorrow after that be a little better, because each one of those little steps over a long time is a huge change.
Well, and don't be, one last thing is get out of your comfort zone. I've never been the president of an advisory board, and I still don't quite fully know exactly what that's going to entail. But, Miss Paul was actually one of my teachers when I was in school.
Oh, wow.
And I thought it was pretty funny that during that meeting, she said that I should do that. But that's something that I've learned through my career is stepping out of my comfort zone. I would have never been the service manager if I wouldn't have walked into my service director's office and said, I think that I'm going to be a good fit for this position, and here's why. There's certain times to toot your own horn, and knowing when that is something that comes with, when to do that is something that comes with experience, but don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone. In high school, I passed up on a lot of opportunities, and outside of high school, whether it was in my personal life or my career, because I wasn't comfortable with it. It's not that I was scared to fail. It's just that I had never done it before, so I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it or not. There's no harm, no foul in asking for an opportunity and then finding out it's not the right opportunity for you. The only thing you're going to gain from that is experience. And experience is something that no one can ever take away from you, whether it's in an automotive career or a different career, whether it's school or not school. Don't half-ass things, take everything you can from it, and do your best, whether it's sharpening a pencil or writing a paper or working on a car. Well,
Matt, I really appreciate your time. I really thank you for all you do for our program at White Bear. You're one of the most active dealerships that help us, so we really appreciate that on our end. And I thank you for this opportunity. There's a lot of good things our students can take away from this, so I appreciate your time.
For sure. And if any of you guys ever have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, email me. Derek has my information. If you ever want a tour of the shop or the facility to see what a dealership does, hesitate to come on over. I know we talked about that, Derek, but COVID kind of got us.
Yeah, COVID ruined a lot of plans.
Yeah. So we delayed everything. But if you guys ever, have any questions or anything like that, don't hesitate to let me know.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you very much, Matt, and enjoy the rest of your day.
For sure. You guys too.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye.